Phillip. So in this video, I want to talk to you a bit about the SRTEs. Now, by this point in most of your university careers, you will have done at least one set of SRTEs, probably multiple sets. So you've got, I suspect, a sense of what's involved in the process. But I really want to talk to you about why it matters that you take the time to fill out the SRTEs, not only for my class, but for your other classes as well. So the SRTEs do a number of things. One is that they give the university information about this course and how well this course is running. And that's important because the university, or more specifically the program in writing and rhetoric, which is a subset of the English department here at Penn State, uses this information about how well these courses are running, what's working, what's not working, to refigure these courses. So we're not exactly doing the standard World Campus version of English 202D, but we're doing a version of it, and what we're doing is pretty similar to the standard. But periodically, the English department will rework these courses based on what works and doesn't work, and one of the ways that they assess that is student feedback. So that's one of the things. How effectively is this course running? Another thing that the university or the English department learns from the SRTEs is how well I'm doing as an instructor. And this is something that, there are a lot of problems with SRTEs and the evaluation of instruction. That's something that's very well known in professional academic circles. I don't want to go into all of it in this video, but there are a lot of problems with student assessments of instruction, but they are one of the easiest ways for universities like Penn State to assess how effective an individual instructor is. So that's really useful for them. The other component of that is that nowadays, the overwhelming majority of faculty are contingent, myself included. And basically that means we don't have long-term contracts. Nationally, something like 70% of faculty at universities are hired either by the semester, by the year, or on a 2 to 3 year contract. So SRTEs are one of the main things that determine whether contingent faculty continue to be employed at their universities. So one of the components that Penn State looks at when determining whether or not they're going to offer me a contract to teach next year is the evaluations. So that is useful information for them to have in that sense, again, in terms of evaluating my performance as an instructor. The next reason that SRTEs are useful is because it gives me feedback from you, especially the comments. So the comment section is really, really important. For me, for my purposes in terms of figuring out what I can do better in the future, the numbers are not that useful to me. But the written feedback, the comments that you make, help me figure out things that worked and didn't work, things that I could do better, things that you really liked and wouldn't want to see changed, all this kind of stuff. So that's why the SRTEs are useful for me, is because they give me a sense of what's effective and ineffective about the course. One thing about this set of SRTEs, this is a very unusual academic year. So while Penn State wants to move back to primarily teaching courses in person in the fall, there are probably still going to be a decent number of courses online. So I guess basically the upshot of this is, if you could think about this course when you're writing your feedback, if you could think about this course in itself as an English 202D course, but also as an online course. If you could think about it in those two different ways and think about what worked and didn't work for the course as such, and for the section as an online course, I'd be very grateful for that kind of feedback. The other thing that I want to make sure you're all aware of with the SRTEs is that they are completely disconnected from your final grades. So your SRTEs are due, I think, by the last day of class, but your SRTEs are definitely due before I will be calculating your final grades, and I don't get to see the SRTEs that you've given me until after final grades have been submitted to you through LionPath. So, you won't know what your final grade is when you fill out the SRTEs, although if that's something that you want to, if you want help figuring out, you can come into office hours, and I'm happy to talk about that with you. And I won't know how you've rated me in the SRTEs until after I've submitted your grades. So on neither side is there the possibility that how we score one another, how we evaluate one another, will affect each other's assessments. So that's just something to keep in mind. Yep. Again, and this is important across the board for not just my class, but for all of the classes that you're taking. People who are, and faculty who aren't contingent, use SRTEs for promotion and tenure review and things like that. So it's still useful for them, even if they have more stable contracts. So again, please do take the time, fill out the SRTEs for all of your classes, and please fill them out as thoughtfully as you can.